Okay, we are here. So, welcome to the video. So, what I have done for this card reveal compared to card review, not card reveal, compared to last card reviews, I have organized all the decks that currently exist, along with all the decks that could exist with these cards, at least at initial inspection, so then we can sort of judge these cards how they'll be in the archetype. So to start things off, we will look at Demon Hunter. First off, we have this quest line, which I believe will only go into the potential draw Demon Hunter. There's a couple of cards that came with the expansion that really benefit off of drawing. Final Showdown is one of those cards, and in my opinion, I think it's pretty weak. But you draw 4 cards, reduce the cost of those cards drawn. Specifically, those 4 cards drawn that turn. Then you gain momentum, which is draw 5 cards, reduce the cost of those cards drawn. Then close the portal. You draw 5 more cards in one turn. You gain Demon Slayer Curtress, which for the rest of the game, any card you draw is 2 less. So I think that already with this thing, before you even get Curtress, you will already have drawn 9 plus 5, 14 cards, most likely over it. So over half your deck is gone. Now, yes, you'll have some cost reductions and stuff. You'll have all sorts of little things, but it does not make Demon Slayer Curtress be any sort of, like, if you're running him for some sort of way to reduce your combo, unless you have some guaranteed way to get the benefit, which you could with Glide, I suppose, he just doesn't seem great. But again, with Glide, if you're running him for a sort of combo, then he could work great, reducing cost of everything by 2. If you're not using Glide to complete the quest itself, along with, I guess it'll fit into the draw Demon Hunter. I mean, of course it does. It's all about drawing. Which now we will cover the other cards that I believe will go well into draw Demon Hunter, such as, so what I think is probably the best sigil so far, Sigil of Alacrity. Alacrity? Whatever. You can see it there. At the start of the next turn, draw a card and reduce its cost by 1. Seems great, because the other sigils, the downside of them, it is really hit hard by you're interacting with your opponent with those sigils, like dealing 3 to the board, or silencing the enemy board, or developing your own board. Like, the opponent can interact with that, while just drawing cards, the opponent can't do anything about that. Like, this is just a delayed card draw. The opponent doesn't have an interaction with it. This is an incredible card. I see this definitely being played a lot. So I think I think this card will actually be played in quite potentially every single type of Demon Hunter, as long as there's some sort of space, which I assume there probably will be in most. Then we have Lion's Frenzy. Has attack equal to the number of cards we've drawn this turn. Now this, I believe, is the card that will really push draw Demon Hunter. If the deck happens to actually work out, it will be because of Lion's Frenzy gaining like 10 attack at like some turns. Like, it's very big, and it goes face. It's pretty strong, but only if you work towards it. Then the last card for the deck, Irebound Brute. 7 mana, 6/7, taunt costs 1 less for each card drawn. So this can help protect you from when you're doing all these big draws. If you happen to make this be a part of a combo deck, like if draw combo is a thing, instead of just draw being powered through Lion's Frenzy and I get maybe just tons of attack cards, then this card will definitely help you survive against aggro, because 7 health it's a pretty nice number, and 6 attack kills most things with it pretty well. So getting that for like 3 mana even is really solid. Irebound Brute It's a really solid card. So that's for the draw Demon Hunter. So now let's take a look at Death Rattle Demon Hunter. So the support for Death Rattle Demon Hunter I see here is just Persistent Peddler, which whenever it dies, summons the other Persistent Peddler from your deck. Demon Hunter doesn't really have many ways to shuffle more copies of this, so it's just the 2 copies you have. If Demon Hunter had any sort of way to shuffle in more Persistent Peddlers, then this card would be great. However, as it stands, Demon Hunter has much better 4-cost Death Rattles that it would rather be running, even just general 4-cost cards, because most Death Rattle Demon Hunters rely on like the big demon end, if only just the 8 mana attack your target. So it could be strong if a shuffle happens, but as it stands, doesn't really improve the deck. Now we'll take a look at Big Demon Hunter. So for Big Demon Hunter, I could potentially see Irebound Brute making the list. It's just a nice demon, but it's not really meant for a big demon deck. They don't tend to run as much draw as most Demon Hunters decks do. Sometimes they run Skull, but even that sometimes is cut because it can get caught up very easily. So I don't know about Irebound or Brute, but I do think that Sigil of Alacrity will be run because it can reduce the cost of the big demons really well. So this could definitely push that archetype. And then along with it, if I'm going to do a little jump here, we won't do too many of these, but a little jump here that will support the big demon archetype before we leave that is down at the bottom. Moarg Forge Fiend. It is a giant demon with taunt and gain armor. That's a very strong effect, and it brings another large demon for Big Demon Hunter to play. So Big Demon Hunter, I think, even though it doesn't get much support in its own class, the fact that it gains that support there is really strong. And so now we're going to take a look at Fell Demon Hunter. So they seem to be pushing Fell spells a lot for Demon Hunter right in this expansion. There's other classes that are really pushing certain spell types too, which we will cover, but currently Demon Hunter. So first off, we have Metamorphin. This is the second Murloc for Demon Hunter, which is a very interesting thing on its own, let alone the implications for Fell. It is a 1-mana 1/2 taunt, and it can gain extra if you play the Fell spell. But Demon Hunters has lots of draw cards, and you know the Murlocs are kind of okay in standard. They're not as strong because you know they made space to make sure that Murloc Shaman wasn't oppressive by taking out War Leader and stuff. But Murlocs are still okay, so I could potentially see a Murloc Demon Hunter coming up, but it's not super on the radar. Mostly a meme deck. However, gain a Fell spell can add a nice taunt for an aggressive Fell Demon Hunter. A 1-mana 3/4, like you can draw and then play this with like a Fell spell. It seems good because you can even tempo it on 1 if you really need to. It seems okay. Like you'll put it into the Fell deck, but I think it'll only really fit into the Fell deck unless a Murloc deck comes around. And the Fell deck will also be running Fell Barrage and Chaos Leech most likely, because they're both Fell spells. Fell Barrage seems very good to deal 2 damage to the lowest health enemy, so it's very likely to kill things both times, and if not, it's still hitting something, and if there's no minions, it does go face. Or if the enemy, like if the opponent, you've got them very low, but it's just not enough, you can Fell Barrage them, and bam. That 1 health they have remaining, it's not there anymore. It's also, the whole Fell deck is empowered, again, by Fell Gorger, which is draw a Fell spell, reduces cost by 2. And you definitely want to run this in the Fell deck that is sort of forming up with this expansion. But it is sort of disappointing that you, because of this card is so pushing the Fell deck, you can't sort of mix it in with the big demons very well, because then you'd be missing out on this card. But the final cherry on top for this entire Fell Demon Hunter deck is Jace Darkweaver. Cast all Fell spells you've played this game. Targets enemies if possible. there is a lot of like fel spells. In general, there's lots of attacks that are fel spells, so you can gain like 10 attack in a turn, and then you can shoot a ton of fel barrages and do all sorts of stuff. Like, this is a very good end game, which makes me believe in the fel deck, and I'm still not sure if it would be more of an aggro deck or a mid-range deck because of Jace being 8 and Felgorger existing. So overall, Demon Hunter's looking pretty good. They have more support for Big Demon, and they have a promising archetype in Fel, which can probably go into an aggro shell pretty well that we've seen historically post, like, pre-rotation. Draw Demon Hunter doesn't seem like it'll work that great, and Death Rattle Demon Hunter, I think it'll still be fine, but it doesn't really gain too much support this expansion, except there is some neutral Death Rattles which you can experiment with, but overall the list won't be changing that much. One moment. Next up, we have Druid. So, for Druid, there's 4 main decks that they have going on, and one of them is a new archetype. Well, 2 of them are potential new archetypes that we will see if they work out. So, first off, we have Clown Druid. Clown Druid, if it gains anything from, like, all of these cards right here, it would be the best in Shell, because it's a very nice defensive card against aggro, along with its tradable ability. If you're just past it and you just want to search for something that would be better for you at the moment, you can. It's good. It's just a nice defensive tool that you can get rid of if it's not good for you. Then we have like potential combo Starliner things, which Best in Shell can also help with, developing taunts before your Starliner, or Oracle of Loon goes well with not Starliner. I'm forgetting the card name, but reduces the cost of all things to 1 and reduces mana to 0. Oracle of Loon combos with, like, it can copy the cards that cost 1. So if there's some sort of minion you want to copy a lot, like copy if it has a passive effect that you think could be really strong, like Malagos and Wild, then this can copy that very easily, and then bam, you get double. But yeah, that's very strong. So, combo Druid seems like it gains a little bit of support. Then we have, there's 2 different token Druids that I'm looking at. So first off, Spell Token Druid. So Spell Token Druid gains 2 extremely good cards for this. So we have Sow the Soil, which gives Spell Token Druid a 1-drop by creating potential. You can make a 2/2 on turn 1 instead of having to just pass, along with you can gain 1 attack if you already have a board developed, which is very strong. I like that. Or if you're developing a board with Gibberlings, you can make those Gibberlings, you can buff them, or you can refill, or while you're buffing them, you can also just refill your entire hand afterwards. With this composting card, because if your opponent clears your board, bam, you got a whole nother full hand. You can probably make a whole nother board. Composting seems nuts. So nuts, in fact, that Minion Token Druid seems like it might work out. With Vibrant Squirrel, you get tons of acorns that it gives you 4 free minions sitting in your deck, so when you draw all these stuff off composting, it can go really well. It gives, like, smaller druids a form of card draw that's really good. And Oracle of Loon, she's not just a combo card, she can also copy your cheap cards. You can play Oracle of Loon, then play Vibrant Squirrel, bam, you have 2 Vibrant Squirrels. I think if there's enough stuff lining up, Oracle of Loon on composting, can make a really strong minion token druid. And finally, we have the quest line, which, from what I've seen from, like, the testing stream from the streamers, seems like it could be pretty strong. Very weak to taunts, but other than that, very strong. With Lost in the Park, quest line, gain 4 attack, you gain 5 armor. Then Next quest line, gain another 5 attack, you gain 5 armor and draw a card. And then the reward is Guff the Tough, and he is a 5 mana 8/8 beast with taunt, which is a very like both beast and taunt are important things about him. 5 mana 8/8 taunt is also just pretty good itself. And the battle cry is gain 8 attack and 8 armor. While that effect is not as permanent and game destroying as some others, like gain +3 spell damage permanently or whatever, or make all the cards you draw cost 2 less even. Just because it's not an aura effect, it doesn't mean it's bad, because Druid has many ways to copy its minions. There's actually a new minion that's neutral that you can copy a friendly beast and send 3 copies into your deck, 3/3. So you can get 3 more of these that all of them have the same battle cry of 8 attack and 8 armor. Or you can use from last expansion, give a minion +2/+2. If it has taunt, copy it. That you just get a free Guff in your hand. Well, not free, but you get another Guff in your hand. So I think that the fact that Druid can copy this over and over, if you just run a few copy effects and lots of draw and attack, the armor should be able to keep you alive fairly well. Along with, like, you just get to attack hard over and over, and I like it. I think it follows the identity of Druid pretty well into a new sort of deck. Park Panther can also help you complete that. I don't know any home for Sheldris, but I'm sure there's some sort of combo that'll eventually have them. Wicker Claw, it gains attack every time your hero gains attack. Not like, oh, I've gained 5 attack this turn, I'll gain it through, like, playing a spell that gives me attack and my hero power. It doesn't just give 1 +2 attack to the Wicker Claw. It gives it twice, so then it goes to 5 attack. So because of that fact that you can gain, like, each time you play a different card or use your hero power, and it gains attack instead of just, oh, this turn you gained attack, I gain attack, it seemed pretty strong. It seems like it could help hold off the early game. And also it's a beast. So, I assume with this sort of deck you would not be running Guardian Animals. Because you also want to run Park Panther. That's it. Also iffy. And then if this is iffy, but it's good in the deck. So, not a Guardian Animals Druid. And that's sort of a thing that's happy to see. Okay. So Druid, looking good. Water break. Okay. Hunter. So, well, if we take a look at all of the hunters that exist and what could potentially exist. So first we have Face Hunter. Face Hunter, I think from all of these cards that are shown, maybe it might run Ramming Mount. I think it'll probably run Aimed Shot because that's some pretty good damage. Devouring Swarm could potentially be ran as a form of value, but I don't think Face Hunter really chooses value. Though some decks, some are running the 1 mana 1/4 weapon that whenever your hero attacks the thing, your minions attack too, so then their trampling rhinos get to attack a lot. And if you're Devouring Swarm a minion with your trampling rhino and it dies, you get a whole another trampling rhino, which is your, like, it's your strongest card. So it seems like the deck might get a little stronger, but in general, it'll stay about the same. Mostly just be small switches. So it'll be good. Personally, I don't think that Face Hunter is that good compared to what other people think. So I'm a bit harsher on it. Then we have Spell Hunter, which that is actually, while you may see, oh, there's not really that many spells that are added here that seem that great. However, if we take a look at this quest line, which is deal 2 damage with spells, that is all the different quest line parts. First, your hero power can target minions. Nice. You know, if you need to ping a minion a little bit. Oh, and I have 2 more spells deal damage or stuff. Oh, so now my hero power costs 0, so I can use it every single turn. I need to clear a minion, I need to go face, whatever. It works. Then knock him down. You get Tavish, Master Marksman, which for the rest of the game, spells cast refresh your hero power. So there's already a sort of spell hunter that exists for the value with lock and load and lots of cheap spells. But now if you're able to use that along with like getting a free 2 damage wherever you want, that seems very strong. Like I'm a bit scared of this card. You just need to do play 6 spells that damage stuff. A lot of hunter spells damage stuff. I'm very scared of this card. I think that hunter, like this, will be the strongest form of hunter with the in the upcoming expansion. It'll be like a Raza Priest, but in one card that starts in your hand. Next up we have Rat Hunter, which that's all about like summoning lots of beasts or minions in general, and then you get to resummon this Rat King over and over, which is Rush. It's 5/5 Death Rattle, resummon when a lot of friendly minions die. I don't know if this will really be good. I think it'll mostly be a meme deck because of 5/5 over and over. Like, sure, that's good, but I don't know if it's that good if you're building your entire deck around that one card. Sure, there's also Stormwind Piper, but this needs to stick to attack in order to buff your minions. Also, it takes up a board slot, so you can't have other things. Like, you can't have a full 7 minions get the buff. Like, if you have the Rodent's Nest, give tons of stuff. Or if you have the Rats of Extraordinary Size, summon tons of stuff. So, there's the Rat Hunter where you just summon lots of stuff, but I don't think that it will do very good because it's just its forms of win conditions just aren't good compared to others that other classes have, including their own class with the Spell Hunter. Then we have an Elwyn Boar Hunter. Now, I know a lot of people aren't looking at Elwyn Boar as a meme, but I think that it's an actually scary card that people should be like looking at like, is it actually, should I be scared of it? And yes, you should, because let's take a quick look at Elwyn Boar down in neutral. 1 mana 1/1. If you had 7 Elwyn Boars die this game, equip a 15/3 Sword of 1,000 Truths. Which there it is. Now, 7 boards this game. I have to build my deck around that. Like, you have to build your deck around all the quest lines. It's like a quest line that you can do in multiple classes. And it gives you a win the game card. Now, yes, it doesn't instantly win the game. Like, there is a quest line that has to win the game. But you destroy the opponent's mana crystals and you deal half their health. Like, it is very strong. Plus, you can, if every future boar you summon, like say your sword breaks, use all the durability because somehow they gained over 45 health or had taunts or something. Which, by the way, there'll be ways to get around taunts. Like, you just keep hitting them over and over with a 15 attack and they have no mana. Which you can also shuffle with this Northshire Farmer. Choose a friendly beast, shuffle three copies into the deck. Or, let's go back up to Hunter, because that's what we're talking about mostly. You can shuffle it in with other Hunter cards, or you can Devouring Swarm with it. Like, Hunter has so many ways to get more of them, and to tutor specific beasts. Like, after 3 friendly beasts die, draw a beast. You can like run some of these rat cards specifically just to draw stuff. Like, it's a very scary thing they have going on. I think Hunter will be the Elwyn Boar class, if they're not the Hero Power spell class. Both of those I'm scared of. They seem very strong. Okay, now Mage. So, if we take a look at all the Mage archetypes that we've got going on, so currently we have Spell Mage, which should, like, you can probably form some form of Spell Mage with Sorcerer's Gambit to make the spell damage given off of Arcanist Dawngrasp be your ending, because I'm sure you can run enough Frost, Fire, and Arcane spells. You in general run quite a few of those things. Along with one problem that Spell Mage has in Standard is fatiguing itself, actually. which is quite the funny way to be like not have things going for you. But you know, fatigue. Well, with ignite, that's not an issue anymore. Deal 2 damage, shuffle and ignite into your deck that deals 1 more damage. So every single time you play it, it does more and more and more, and it stops fatigue from happening. Like spell mage, and you can even and this is a small removal. Like spell mage is gaining quite and also a cheaper board clear. Spell mage seems like it'll be getting stronger, along with gaining a. Some decks might run the Sorcerer's Gambit in it, because it could add a nice win condition. All the different parts of it are cast a Fire, Frost, and Arcane spell, and you know, besides the final part adding Dawn Grasp, they draw a spell or discover a spell. So Spell Mage seems like it'll be doing good. Spell Damage Mage doesn't look like it's getting that much. Even the spell damage thing here, it's just for fire spells, so it doesn't actually interact with like the 2 mana draw according to your spell damage. So that doesn't really work with it. First Flame could maybe work because it's you know, you deal 2 damage both times. You can make that a lot bigger. But in general, I think Spell Damage Mage doesn't really benefit that much from this expansion, at least with these cards. But Quest Mage. So if you're specifically building a Quest Mage, I do think that the Spell Mage shell would probably do best, but maybe there's some minions that also do work well with it. If you want to make the reward from Sorcerer's Gambit even stronger, gain the +3 spell damage this game, you can easily copy it in Mage with the 4 mana Potion of Illusion, I believe, which gives you a 1/1 copy of a minion on the board. Of all your minions on the board, and this is a minion on the board, so you can just play that and do it over and over, and like since it's 5 mana, you can just do it easily, or reduce it if you use this, or have it cheaper if you use the Spell Mage shell. So that seems quite scary. Spell Mage can get just tons and tons of spell damage and then blow someone up with the quest. Then we have Big Spell Mage. So Big Spell Mage got a couple of support cards here with Clumsy Courier. Cast the highest cost spell from your hand. 7 mana 4/5. It's pretty good if you're casting like a 8, 9, 10 cost spell, because you're both cheating a bit of mana along with summoning a 4/5. Or Celestial Ink Set. After you spend 5 mana on spells, reduce the cost of a spell in your hand by 5. There's not really much presence of any form of Big Spell Mage, but that's because Mage doesn't really have good minions to own the early game to make sure you get to that late game. But if that happens, or if there becomes some insane high cost spells, which there's quite a few good high cost spells that happen, Big Spell Mage could happen. It's got the support going on here. Like, these are very good support cards, and we will see how they go in the future. And so then we have Fire Mage. Mage has tons of different archetypes I can see from this. Then we have Fire Mage. You just run every fire spell. This card, your next fire spell is spell damage +2. I assume that lasts over turns. So then you can just drop this on 2 and then ping if you want on turn 3. And then, oh, I lost the board to a board-based deck. And then deal 5 damage with Fire Sail. Or you could deal 4 with First Flame, or, you know, there's all sorts of fire spells that can really benefit from that. And it has a pretty nice finisher of Grand Magus Antonidas. If you cast a fire spell on each of your last 3 turns, cast 3 fireballs at random enemies, which, if you have enough fire spells, that should be fairly easy to keep that going, with First Flame, Ignite always being at least in your deck. And drawing like a card with the Sanctum Chandelier. Or Chandelier? I feel like there's a misspell there. Or maybe I'm just bad at reading. But Fire Mage, I think that'll be a very interesting thing, because like it's just got all these things going on. And then we have Hero Power Mage, which Hot Streak can let you get out on like turn 1. Your hero power cost does 1 more damage. This can make it free. But besides that. Not really much support here, unless like you run it within the fire package, which maybe you do as a sort of removal, but the fire package does not require that you only run fire spells, which is also very nice. So Mage is looking really good. Lots of different archetypes, so even if they're only like tier 2, the Spell Mage looks like it'll be seeing great improvements. It's gonna have a big variety, which I'm very happy. I think that's great. I've been entering Mage, and yeah, it seems nice. Next up, Paladin. So, for Paladin, it seems like they only have 3 different archetypes, and they just seem okay. Well, one of them seems incredible, one of them seems okay, and one of them hasn't been doing well already. So, first up, Quest Paladin. So the quest line is play 3 different 1-cost cards, and the way it works is, like, let's say you play Omayog to complete one part of this first part of the quest line. Then for the second part, you can play Omayog again. It doesn't need to be 9 unique 1-cost cards over the course of the full quest line. It just needs to be 3 different 1-cost cards for each separate section. But each reward is also very, like, the reward for each different section of this quest line is also very strong, because it all leads to the end. The first one is equip a 1/4 Light's Justice. Okay, it helps you survive the early game, even though you're playing lots of 1-drops to help you do that. So, you know. The second part, it upgrades your hero power. So that doesn't have really any good immediate effect. However, it does mean after you complete the final part and get Lightborn Cariel, where your Silverhand recruits have +2/+2, it does mean that you will be summoning 2 3/3s every turn. And you can even add separate buffs from other cards, like the 5 mana 5/5 whenever you summon a Silverhand recruit, give it a Divine Shield, like aura effect forever as the game progresses, Battlecry thing. Like, then you can have 3/3s like every single turn, and you can even play other cards that summon Silverhand recruits. Or you can also like give them more attack with the 2 mana, give your Silverhand recruits +1 attack this game. Like, this is a very strong card to end the game with, and since all these 1-cost cards you can play, they will help you through the they will help you through the early game. So, like, I don't know how like, this seems busted. The only issue it could have is lack of card draw, but First Day of School completes a whole section by itself, so it seems strong. And then the other archetype that looks pretty hopeful is Hand Buff Paladin, which I think the strongest part of it will be the Alliance Bannerman. Draw a minion, give minions your hand +1/+1, but also Prismatic Jewel Kit. While first looking at this, when it was one of the few cards revealed, after a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, give minions your hand +1/+1. That seemed like, that won't go off pretty often. But it's 1 mana, give your minions +3/+3 in your hand. Now it is over multiple turns, and you do have the condition of when a friendly minion loses Divine Shield. But Paladin, even just this expansion, along with, like, it already runs a couple cards with Divine Shield. So Divine Shield, they won't really be lacking in Divine Shields for the Hand Buff Paladin. And Hand Buff also interacts really well with Divine Shield. So it's just sort of turning back in on itself, supporting itself over and over, which is very strong. And then they made the Catacomb Guard, which is Battlecry, deal damage equal to the minion's attack to an enemy, and has Lifesteal. That's pretty strong. You get to heal up a bunch if you've buffed this a ton, along with leaving a nice healing body. So very hard for aggro to take this deck down before it can get tons of big boys off. And then you have First Blight of Rin, which, even with just 1 hand buff, becomes a really strong card. A 4 mana 4/6 Rush Divine Shield. Now, it doesn't start as that, but the deck is built. The deck should be built to make that happen. And the Battlecry also guarantees this will not be in Libram Paladin, because you need Battlecry to gain Rush, which is an interesting little thing to note. And then High Lord 4 Dragon will be finishing pushing this deck through. You're getting through, you have all these Divine Shields that you've been playing because this is Divine Shield hand buff. Then you put this guy down, you trade in your Divine Shield minions, and then bam, you're given stuff in your hand +5/+5 each and every time. And if they want to kill High Lord 4 Dragon, if they're not using a straight removal spell like Maw of Cthulhu, then like just him alone will give something 5/5, which is nice stats for like what we're rocking here. So that seems very strong. Then we have Libram Paladin, which is like there's Secret Libram Paladin that sort of exists, and I think the only improvements I see two potential maybe improvements that can be given to them with City Tax. This is a very strong card that already sort of exists for Priest and Wild, but it deals to all minions instead, is not tradable. But it's very strong, especially with Barov setting all enemy minions to 1 health. You can just kill them all and lifesteal a ton, which I think that's strong. And maybe even run some spell damage. I don't know. I mean, just saying, spell damage is pretty good. That can make you heal a ton. Then you have Noble Mount. Give a minion +1/+1 in Divine Shield. When it dies, summon a Warhorse. This may also be run in the hand buff Paladin because of the Divine Shield. It'll bring 2 Divine Shields because the Warhorse also is a 1 with Divine Shield. I can't hover over it here because some cards they didn't fully go through, but it does seem pretty good. Like it'll also work with Libram Paladin because it makes a minion sticky initially, and then if they manage to kill that minion that you just put a Divine Shield on and probably trade it into something, then bam, you summon a 1/1 Divine Shield horse. And that's a lot of effort. It would take a lot of effort to kill a 1/1 Divine Shield. So Paladin, Libram Paladin will either become insane again. I think Libram Paladin is it's either insane or garbage. So we'll see what that happens. Quest seems like it'll be strong. I don't know how. Like, I think you just need to beat it over the top before they get going. And hand buff seems like they'll win the board with that too. So the boards will not be won against Paladin very well. Okay. Next up, my favorite, Priest. So Priest looks like it had, maybe I've made more archetypes for it just because, I split things up more because it's my favorite class. I know the most about it. Like, this is the class that, like, if you need advice for any Priest questions, I can definitely answer them. I know Priest well. So first off, Shadow Priest. Oh, this is an archetype I'm very excited for. All empowered by Dark Bishop Benedictus. If all the spells in your deck are Shadow, enter Shadow form. So that means, like, you don't have to draw a Shadow form in order to start your Shadow form deck. You just start the game in it. Yes, you need to run all Shadow spells, and that is actually because there's no Apotheosis, which Apotheosis would be insane with the deck. It does make it a little bit rough. However, it's still very strong. Along with, you could potentially run the Shadow cards that are around here in a generation shell instead of the Dark Bishop Benedictus form to, create an OTK off of this Psyfiend. After you cast a Shadow spell, deal 2 damage to each hero. If you put an Apotheosis on it, you can make that a little Reno. But if we're looking at just Dark Bishop form, then like all these Shadow things you can put in, they're all good. Shadow Priest has a couple board clears itself too, so it doesn't have to fully fight for board with minions. It's got quite a couple lifesteal things, so it should be able to heal up in order to make sure its burn doesn't kill itself with Psyfiend. You also have some spell cost reduction, so then your Psyfiend turns can be even bigger because of palm reading. Reducing the cost of stuff, along with discovering potential spells. I think that Shadow Priest will run the Discover package with Raise Dead, Wand Maker, and the little Scorpion. to, you know, generate lots of value, so you can just slowly poke down, because it's not a full straight up burn deck. Though it Void Touch Attendant, making damage all sources, is pretty strong with all the different ways to deal that damage. You could also set up a Shadowcloth Needle the turn before you go in on the Void Touch Siphon, which would be pretty strong. Twilight Deceptor is a wonderful card draw to support the deck. Lots of strong cards, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like all these 6 cards really push the archetype well. So I'm very excited for it. Then we have Rally Priest. Rally Priest doesn't seem to be gaining much here. I just wanted to put it there as a archetype that exists. Unless maybe you want to put in Void Touch Attendant, but I don't think you do. It doesn't look like Rally Priest really gets anything here. Elec Mount, maybe you can generate and then you make stuff sticky, but either way, Rally Priest, you shouldn't need to worry about that too much. Looks like it's not going to be much of an issue, or at least any more than it is now. Then there's the Generation Control Priest, where they just generate as much value as possible. With like the Raise Dead combo and lots of generation of spells. Shard of the Naru should be very strong for them, because there's lots of decks that will, like, silence can hurt, that we've gone over, such as Hand Buff Paladin. So that could be good. Maybe you also run the Priest quest line, so you can get the Purified Shard if you play things at all these different costs, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But like you can run the control deck without having it as your I don't think this quest you want to build a deck specifically for the quest. I think the quest goes along with stuff, so you can have a way to win against other control decks. Okay, and then I have more. This makes me want to talk even more about Shadow Priest because Death Rattles, but we talked about that. But either way, this can summon more face damage with stuff or value. I love this card, Shadow Priest. I'm just so excited, but I don't want to talk too long about that because I'm trying to keep this sort of short-ish, short as I can. Well, still getting my thoughts out. Anyways, N'Zoth Control Priest. Maybe you run the Elec Mount. I don't think any beasts are run in the deck. However, it's not common for a minion to really stick in today's Hearthstone, and for Elec Mount to be played, you need a minion to stick, or you need to play a 3-cost minion and play this on turn 10, which that doesn't. It's not. It's not really a thing that happens. So, not really a thing that will likely happen. Then we have a full quest deck, which, as I covered when I talk about Generation Control potentially running the quest, I don't think you want to build a deck specifically to complete the quest because of the way the quest works, where you play a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cost card. You just sort of play the game, and then you do think about the quest, and can I make a play that will advance the quest instead of one that won't? I think that'll be how it works, but not a deck specifically for it. Though, an interesting deck idea that I have thought about is Elwyn Boar. So we already talked about Elwyn Boar. You, if 7 have died, then you get the giant sword. So Priest you can also generate more Elwyn Boars with Call of the Grave. I didn't even think of that. But Priest has lots of ways to copy their own minions, be it through Raise Dead, bring them back to your hand. They're pretty cheap, so that's not a problem. Or you can copy them with a 3 mana, summon a 1/1 copy of a minion and give it both Divine Shield. Or maybe like the 5 mana copy a minion, give it a couple stats. Like, Priest has a lot of ways to replicate minions, so I think there will be some sort of Priest deck. Since there is a fair amount of draw for Priest that would run Elwyn Boar, and then you'll probably run Shard of the Naru in the deck because you can trade it away when you don't need it. But once you get the sword, you can just use Shard of the Naru to make it so the enemy taunts do nothing if they've developed any taunts. So that's another thing to look out for. Then we have Rogue, who is a very terrifying card, but we'll cover that when we get to it. So first off, we've got a combo Rogue that exists, and I don't believe any of these cards really help the combo Rogue that much. It's where you play Alexstrasza and then bounce it back, play Alexstrasza, boop, 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 boop. You play out Alexstrasza over and over until the enemy's dead. Loan Shark could potentially help it because you can get 2 coins. You give your opponent a coin, and you get 2, so that's pretty good for a sort of combo deck. But overall, I think the deck might not change a lot unless there's some battle cries they really like in the neutrals that I've missed. Then we have Face Rogue, which now can have a 2 mana deal 8. Now it is not an immediate deal 8, but it pretty much, you know, it does 8 overall. Garrowed, it shuffles in the bleeds that deal 2 damage. And they're cheap in case you draw them off the 1 mana draw 4 card. Because they don't instantly play off of that. But, you know, Face should gain a lot from Garrote. Then there's Shuffle, which I think will be a archetype that rises. So Garrote, you can shuffle in cards. Though I think, you know, maybe just shuffle it just because it's a shuffle deck. There's nothing that really helps you shuffle. But there is the Rogue Minion 3 mana, 4/3 shuffle 3/3 teddy bears with cast withdrawn in your deck. If you play Sketchy Informant on 3, then you trigger that effect because they cost less than 4. You just can't run other Death Rattles, which is pretty easy. And then you can counterfeit Blade after that, which also shuffles in tons of bears. So then whenever you draw, you're likely to draw tons of bears and develop a board through that. Then there's also the Quest Rogue, which I think is just it reminds me a lot of Galakrond Rogue. Well, of course, there's like a fair bit of differences. Galakrond Rogue had infinite value. This one does not. But find the, you know, you gotta play SI7 cards. You find the Imposter, and all the things add spy gizmos to your hand. Spy Master adds Scabs, adds all of them. You got a better sap, which makes it so the enemy, it's cost less than sap, and the enemy can't immediately replay it. Spy-O-Matic, so you can mess up the opponent's draw. Noggin Fog Generator, give him a +2 in attack and stealth, so you can either give something more attack if you want, or stealth, whichever you need more, but you'll still have both effects either way. Hidden Gyroblade, 1 mana 3/2 Death Rattle, throw this at a random enemy minion after you finished using it. That's pretty strong. Deal 3 to a random enemy minion, Death Rattle? Not bad for a 1 mana 3/2. Definitely not bad. Undercover Mole, Stealth. After this attacks at a random card to your hand from your opponent's class, that's a nice just value generator. Lots of value in general in all of these. Tempo, value, all of that. So you can just sort of spam out that value as you're playing all these SI7 cards, like the Informant, which improves with all the SI7 cards. Operative, Agent. There's also a neutral. There's the Skulker, which is great. Then there's also just the cards they have, like the 3/3 that deals to. Like, it's pretty good. They've got a really nice thing going on with their quest, and it'll just be a genuinely good deck. Doesn't seem like it'll be cheating too much, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, it's got cheating, but nothing that's cheating outside of the ordinary of Rogue, which is a little bit of mana cheat. Make a big boy, like it's just little tempos, and I like it. Then we have Shaman. Looks like it will be very, very oppressive. Maybe not. Maybe it's all these small busted things, won't be impressive, but let's go through them anyway. So first off, Aggro Elemental Shaman. That exists in current. I guess you... Here, let's double check that I'm not missing anything if I search element. Okay. Just had to double check because I was pretty sure that these were only 2 elementals. But, Canal Slugger. Oh, I'm facing another aggro deck and they're trying to burn me out. Oh, I gained 6 life. That Overload 1 doesn't really matter for like how much value that Canal Slugger brings. With all that lifesteal, the rush, 6/4, like pretty good for 4 mana. Oh, also Granite Forgeborn. Reduce the cost of elementals in your hand and deck by 1. Oh, I just can't combo and play all of my elementals that fast enough. Let me just reduce the cost of them so I can just play them super easy. Insane. Then we have Doomhammer Shaman. I think Doomhammer, like, it can benefit in the Overload package in general. You can just use Overdraft to, take away the downside. You could just use this to draw it, though there's already ways to tutor well. In general, like, there's a couple things it can synergize with. You could play Spirit Alpha into Doomhammer on 5, which would be strong. But there's nothing that's like, yeah, this goes in Doomhammer Shaman. No. So hopefully we don't see too many Doomhammer Shamans because it's not specifically pushed. Then we have Battle Cry, which I think is another busted thing. Which Auction House Gavel, after your hero attacks, reduces the cost of a Battle Cry minion in your hand by 1. Which you can combine with Bullner Hammerbeak. After you play a Battle Cry minion, repeat the first Battle Cry played this turn. So whenever you reduce the cost with the Auction House Gavel, you can play that Battle Cry the Auction House Gavel does, and then use Bullner to play that Battle Cry over and over and over and over again. Super, super strong value. There's definitely some weird combos that will come out of that, and that seems strong. You can also run the Elemental package with it because these 2 Battle Cry cards, they're not going to interrupt any nature stuff. And then you can run the Elemental Battle Cry stuff. You can use the Granite Forgeborn. Repeat the Granite Forgeborn over and over and over until all of your elementals are free, pretty much. Busted. Then we have Overload Shaman, which I'm mostly including with the quest. Play 3 Overload cards, unlock your Overloaded Mana Crystals. Incredible step 1, just alone. Then step 2, play 3 cards with Overload, summon a 3/3 Elemental with Taunt. Not a great step 2. But after you complete step 3, which includes playing 2 Overload and then Grukan, all your spells cast twice. So all of your burn spells, you can also put a Doomhammer in case you want to give your hero attack, so your Doomhammer gains tons and tons and tons of attack because you get all your spells cast twice. You can absolutely obliterate an enemy with all sorts of different burn after you complete the quest. Or you can just use it for value to clear the board pretty easily. So that's a very strong quest line. And then we have Evolve, which is only really gaining... Oh, also, before we leave Overload, discover a 1-cost minion and summon it. You're already going to... this can be a 3-mana, 8/8. And that's insane. It's insane, because you're going to be playing tons of Overload, and so now you can make that be a giant minion. For cheap. That's insane. But, now on to Evolve. Evolve only really gets one thing, which is Tiny Toys. You can play the Evolve weapon on 5 into a Tiny Toys on 6, which the Tiny Toys on 6 will mean you have at least 4 random 6-cost minions and then they have their full stats. Insane. So Shaman, it's rockin' and rollin'. Then we have Warlock. So first off, Control Warlock. Out of the cards that are here for Control Warlock, I think Touch of the Nathrazine will be a consideration. I don't think it will make the cut fully, but it's definitely considered because it's good healing and it does a little bit of damage. Then we have a Natharon. You could maybe run I don't think you'd fully run an Atheron. I think an Atheron will only really work in Handlock, which we'll cover in some time. But then we have Entitled Customer, which I definitely think will already run in both Handlock and Control Lock, because it just clears the board, which is pretty strong. Then we have Quest Lock, which is about the Demon Seed. Takes 6 damage, and then you heal 3 while also dealing a little bit to the enemy hero. Then you take 7, does the same reward. Then once you complete the final thing, you get Blightborn Tamsin, which for the rest of your game, the damage you take, the opponent takes instead. So, you can also use fatigue damage, because you take fatigue damage on your turn. So you can just draw tons and tons of cards in fatigue, and then your enemy's dead because they took tons and tons of damage of fatigue. Very strong. Including, like, just the burn cards in general are overstated because burning your cards is bad. But if this makes it good, then, I mean, well, that's the downside. Plus, the burn your own deck stuff has lots of, like, healing. So, I think the Demon Seed will be very, very good. Touch with Anathema and Bloodbound Int probably go in it well. Probably Entitled Customer too, just because it's just a good removal and you're not an aggro deck with this, you're a combo deck. Maybe run Rune Mithril. I don't know if you have a slot, this is an incredible card. Reducing the cost of your hand by 1 is insane. Then we have Handlock, which will probably form pretty close to how Control Lock forms, but you switch out a couple cards to include Anatheron, the Entitled Customer, and the Dark Alley Pact to really interact with your hand size. So then you're like, do I want to play this card? Because I could get the value now, but then I won't be able to get Anatheron on 5, or Anatheron on 4 for 1 mana, and then clear the board. So, you know, however that works out. Then we have Zoo. So Zoo could potentially exist. Dreaded Mount is just a really good Zoo card. However, Zoo will exist because it's an infinite minion. Dread Seed's good. Even with all the transform effects, you already should get the value just by playing it in general. Seems strong. And then to take it to the side a bit, Demon Zoo, where you focus specifically on summoning lots of demons. That could be empowered with Demonic Assault along with Shady Bartender. Demonic Assault, deal 3, summon 2 1/3 void blockers with taunt. Pretty good. You create a board while also dealing damage. That's good for more aggressive or mid-range decks. And then Shady Bartender. Oh, I've got all these demons, but they don't do anything. They got 1 attack. Well, no, they don't. They have +2 now, so they deal 3 instead. Or, you know, if you have a big board, then you can do a big buff, and he's tradable. So if you don't have a big board and you need something else, you just trade him away. Very, very good. Then we have Warrior, which, well, it will be the final class we cover, but I'll want to cover some specific neutrals. Even though I'm not covering every card, I'm just covering the cards that I think actually will make an impact. If I don't talk about a card, it means I don't think it matters at all. Or if I do talk about it and I say it's bad, that means it's really bad. So, Warrior, Control Warrior. Control Warrior maybe will run Heavy Plate, maybe run Provoke so you can make your Crush activate off of any minions and stuff. But in general, maybe you also run Cargo Guard, but Control Warrior doesn't really, don't think it'll be changing that much, which is a little bit sad. That it doesn't get too much, but it definitely has some options it can try to include. Mostly actually neutrals help it out a lot. With the Rustrot Viper, I think that'll go into lots of control decks. Destroy your opponent's weapon, insane. Along with the Tradable Silence and Minion could be good against like hand butt stuff. And Spice Bread Baker, restore health to hero equal to its size. But anyways, we're not in the neutrals. We're not in neutrals. I'm trying to keep on topic. So, Rush. Does Rush Warrior really gain anything? You could maybe run Harbor Scamp in Rush Warrior because it draws a card, but I don't think they really gain much out of this stuff. Brush Warrior is already a very solid list. I don't even think it really needs that much. Maybe you run a Lothar instead of one of the big bullies, because 7 is a pretty empty turn in general, so that could be good. Pirate aggro, so I think you could there's a couple different ways for pirates to work. You could use all these pirates, like give your hero +2 attack, draw a pirate, use it as a engine to make your pirates really strong so you can attack with whatever you have in your deck anyways. Or you can use Raid the Docks, where you just run all the different pirates. It doesn't say all the different parts of this, but like this one is play 3 pirates, draw a weapon. The second part is play 3 pirates, deal 2 damage twice to random enemies. And the final part is gain Rokaro, which is a 5 mana 7/7 Battlecry summon, the Iron Breaker or something. And it is a sort of minion just like the portals are for the various Warlock stuff, that like the 2 different things that summon portals that they have no way of being removed, but they do take up a board slot. And so this pirate boat thing, it at the start of your turn deal 2 damage randomly to 2 enemies and equip a random warrior weapon. Oh, I think I explained this quest line all the way through, at least as best as I could. I think this, like, it's a very strong win condition, and if you run a more control package with these, especially with Cargo Guard, where you're just removing stuff with your pirate stuff, and like using your tempo to, control the board, and then you're just constantly hitting enemies with your boat, giving you lots of damage and weapons, I think that could be very strong. Use the tempo to kill the aggro, and then use the giant boat value to kill the enemies. Whether you take that in a more aggressive route or a control route, the spells are up to you. Then you have Big Warrior, which gains important support here with Cowardly Grunt, Provoke, and Lothar. Cowardly Grunt can pull out any minion, like it's just recruits a minion from your deck pretty well. Provoke can also combo with the Cowardly Grunt, or even any of your big minions. You can use it as a board clear, or you can use it to trigger this death rattle. And then Lothar is also a really insane card, because at the end of your turn, attack random enemy minion. If it dies, gain +3/+3. So he becomes bigger. And then next turn starts, if he's still alive, you get to attack with him, and then he attacks it again at the start of his next turn. So he just gets to grow, and grow, so that he seems strong. Some games he might be super big, some he's a threat that needs to be removed. You can't leave him up. So Big Warrior might be coming back too. Okay, so that's it for all of those. Now for the neutrals. So we talked about Elwyn Boar. I'm terrified of the card. I think it should be nerfed already. Peasant, it could, if it fits into, like, if there's a place in the any form deck, then it'll rock. It'll do good. Deep Run Engineer makes me feel like there's a mech expansion coming up, because there's a couple mech things, such as remote controlled golem, that don't make sense. Auctioneer Jackson feels like a bad legendary. I don't want to spend 2 mana with my trading. Lorist should empower a minion token druid if it exists, because, reducing cost step is strong. I really like the effect of the Enthusiastic Banker, even though it's not good. The card makes me happy. Entrapped Sorceress, this should go in quite a few different quests. It's just good. It's a solid body, and then you discover a spell to help you out. It won't go in every quest, but I think that Priest, Mage, and Hunter will probably run it. Impatient Shopkeep, I don't care what anyone says, garbage card. I've heard a couple people try to say this is the good. No, it won't. This is a bad card, and no. Northshire Farmer, incredible for combos and just value in general. Rust-Rot Viper, I put my opinions out for there. I think this is another incredible card. You destroy your opponent's weapon, and you don't even have to keep it. You can throw it away. Traveling Merchant, I think this is a card I haven't really seen people talk about, but I remember like there were some like zoo and token, various token and paladin and whatever decks that we had a very similar minion. It was a 5-mana 4/4 with the same effect, not tradable though. That saw play, and it wasn't played by everybody, but I thought it was pretty good. It made a very big boy. So keep this on your radar. Don't forget about this minion, but maybe not good. But I definitely think it probably people are missing out on it. Royal Librarian, neutral silence that can be traded. Incredible. Tech cards. Spice Bread Baker. I love healing in all my control decks that have a full hand. Stubborn Suspect. Pretty good for Death Rattle Demon Hunter because you just pull out the boy. He's a good boy. Lion's Guard. Maybe good in Quest Warlock because you get pretty low in it. And this can become a 5-mana 6/10. It's pretty good. That's pretty good stats. But I don't know if it's worth running over some other taunts. Cornelius Rome. At the start of it, each player's turn, draw a card. This will be very good for aggressive or mid-range decks, so they have extra gas. Like, it's just a neutral draw for classes that don't only have draw. Listen. There's 2 perfectly normal daughters, then one died and brought doom to Stormwind. Lady Prestor seems beautiful and fun. It's just a fun card. It can turn low value cards into higher value cards. Yeah. Moarg Forge Fiend. This will be great for any deck that wants to run a Zoth and that doesn't already have demons. Variant King of Stormwind. I think other people think this will be really good. I think it's too slow. Maybe run in some control decks, but I don't want to build my deck for it. So, yeah. Goldshire Knoll, very good for Handlock. I forgot about this card the first time I did the review anyways. Yeah. So, I think that was all the cards. If you think I missed one that you think is like, whoa, how could you miss out on that one? It seems incredible. Then let me know. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed my review, and I hope to see you all another time. Bye-bye.